I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of a Whole meeting to order. The time is 6:30. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the record. Vice President Perry, Secretary Green, Treasurer McIntyre,
Present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McNeil,
Present.
Board Trustee Walker,
Present.
Board Trustee Wright is absent, and myself, I'm present. At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public. If you have a script, please turn it in to the board executive assistant, Monica Elston. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the jurisdiction of the board and not address individuals by name. The presiding officers of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Members of the public are reminded that the board, by its bylaws 1370, is not under obligation to answer questions, make comments, or statements in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. Audience members are reminded to state their names and addresses, and if appropriate, the group they represent. Employees of the board, representatives of employee organizations and/or unions, and students should exhaust administrative procedures before addressing the board on matters for which administrative review is provided. You are solely responsible for the content of your public statement. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to address the board?
Here's what has been submitted so far. It looks like Cheryl Atkins.
Okay. Ms. Cheryl Atkins?
Hello. Can Monica, we have copies for you, so if Monica could take these. Good evening. My name is Cheryl Atkins, and I live at 1326 El Dorado Drive, but I'm representing the Educational Foundation for the Flint Community Schools. In addition to serving on the board for the Education Foundation, I'm a resident of the city of Flint and a retired Flint Community Schools educator. The Board of Education Foundation is a diverse body primarily of former Flint Community Schools employees and alumni with a common mission to act with the best interests of students. Would the board please stand? The Flint Board of Education first proposed the concept of creating an educational foundation in 2004, and the Education Foundation was incorporated as an independent nonprofit organization in 2007. The sole mission is to enrich and support the success of Flint Community School students. Tonight, the Education Foundation is going on record to urge the Board of Education to seriously consider and actively explore in good faith the draft Memorandum of Understanding most recently put forth by the C.S. Mott Foundation. We believe the board should consider this proposal, which builds on the work of the past few years, to create a future for Flint students that provides an opportunity for educational success equal to or better than any that are found in other communities. We also urge the Board of Education and the Flint Community Schools to develop a long-range plan in collaboration with key partners and the community to develop priorities based on the needs and wants of Flint area students and residents. We encourage all parties that have a stake in Flint in the success of Flint Community Schools and its students, including teachers, staff, parents, and community members, to be actively included in the discussion taking place to reform and revive Flint Community Schools. The plan should be transparent and evidence-based with accountability built in for all participants. The timing is particularly crucial, even the recent years of emerged challenges for our students and families, including the water crisis, the learning losses due to the pandemic, and the resulting educational and economic impact. Time is of the essence, given the significance and likely one-time additional funding from the state and federal governments to address the expenses due to COVID-19 for the educational community. These separate and substantial funding opportunities are not mutually exclusive. The opportunity to apply to the CS Mott Foundation for a multi-year, multi-million-dollar grant may not always be there, and the Flint Community Schools should be prepared and ready to consider sorely needed resources on the behalf of our children and students. We are well aware of our history and that other school districts in the state of Michigan that have struggled with financial hardship and continually declining enrollment. Efforts to date have not made the Flint schools competitive, and we continue to see students and teachers leave the district. This may be the best chance for the Flint Community Schools. The Education Foundation is advocating for the board and the district to act in the best interest of students by working with many community partners who care about students, including the CS Mott Foundation, to collectively craft a plan and consider the resources that would competitively position the district to ensure sustainability for years to come. And as Dr. Comer said from Yale University, the school development program, everything we do should be about kids. It should only focus on kids. That should be our general focus. Thank you for your consideration.
Next, we have Mr. A.C. Dumas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I mean, that's what your board's supposed to respond and say, good evening.
Good evening. I said good evening.
All right, then. My name is A.C. Dumas, and I've been a lifelong resident of the city of Flint. I attended S.S. Stewart Jr. School. I went to Whittier High School. I graduated from Flint Southwestern Coast. And then I've had the pleasure of working for the board under Marion Coates Williams, who was the first African-American classroom teacher. I was at Dordt School and Manley under the follow-through program and the Head Start program. My sisters taught for the board for many years, and then they left, went to Texas and California. And so I want to say this. I want to commend the president of the Flint Board of Education and those who are following in her steps to make a better life for the children in the city of Flint. You know, they have all these models all about the kids, da 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 da. I live in the third ward. Not one school, public school or private school, is in the third ward. Not one. So when the hardest hit funds come, the third ward doesn't get any. Because first they look at areas where there's school. You have Carpenter Road School, probably one of the newest schools around, closed down. Why? Everything that we have, the taxpayers have paid property taxes for and given their lives, if you allow me to say that, board past have gotten away with it. Now, you want to talk about memorandum of understanding, you know, you have to have teeth in a memorandum of understanding. Because I've seen that when General Motors, you know, I'm looking and see how wonderful downtown is, the culture center. But I'm looking at the north end of Flint. I'm looking at you black board members too. I'm looking at all you black board members. And you can't sell your community down the drain. And that's what you're doing. Look how you cross your legs. You can't sell your community down the drain while the other communities in the city of Flint flourish. Look at the north side of Flint. Drive on the north side of Flint. Go through the neighborhoods, especially in the third ward of the north side of Flint. Go to Johnson School and see it's abandoned. Go to Dr. T. Williams School and see, oh, my time is up? Well, okay, well, all right then. You know, abandoned. And that was named after the first African American board member that was elected to the board, who happened to be the father of former Mayor Karen Williams Weaver. I'm not, you know, if the Mott Foundation want to do something, just let them give the money. Don't put all these strings attached. All these strings are attached. And at the end of the day, when you look at Flint and the north side and where it's people of color, nothing will be done. Thank you.
Next speaker we'll have is Miss Audrey Young.
Good evening, everyone. I'm coming and speaking of a serious concern in the second ward. Also being a person that was born, raised in Flint, product of Flint Public Schools. I do have a concern living in the second ward. There are, just like Mr. A.C. Dumas stated, there are no public schools open in the second ward. We have school buildings still there. That's just there. Some of them vandalized, some of them boarded up. Walking through the neighborhood and talking to several of the people in the neighborhood, their biggest concerns is that there is nothing there for them to play with. We have a lot of parks, but we have nothing indoors when the winter comes. You know, back a long time ago, we had buildings that was open for the students and the children in the communities to be able to go in. Even Haskell Center is not even open in the second ward right now. So there's a lot of concern, especially we talking about the high crime rates. What are we gonna do with bringing these people off the street? We need to think about some of these buildings, and you have a lot of great people here in the city that's ready to run programs and do some things in the community. Some of these buildings are available. They should be available for people who live in Flint, who growed up in Flint, who's ready to open up the doors for Flint residents. There's a lot of great programs that can happen here in this community. But I guess one of my biggest concerns, because I was a magnet student, I went to Flint Academy, but I remember being in elementary school and them wanting me to come from Carpenter Road School, one of the schools that Mr. Dumas mentioned, and wanted me to go over to Walker School to be in their program. However, my mother said, bring the program to the community that she lived in. And that's what killed our communities, because we took everybody that was from those communities and brought them into a different community, and it killed those communities. I live in the second ward now. Same thing happened over there. We want something open on that north end. We really just do. We're not looking for necessarily for the Mott Foundation to come in. We saw what happened with the Service Center. That didn't take place. You know, when we were supposed to get a school, it ended up being what? Well, we got the Flint Cultural Center, but we need schools that's going to be a part of the public school system, because we need to bring that revenue back into the school system. That's all I basically wanted to say and bring in my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Are there any other speakers that would like to speak? Seeing there's none, Mr. R. Woodson, no, I was letting them.
How you doing? Let me start by saying I went to Dort School, then I transferred over to Merle, then I went to Holmes, then I went to Northern. I hear a lot of people coming to every board meeting saying that you all need to adhere or work with Mott and do this and do that. What I see, especially when the superintendent and one of the board members went on an all-out blitz along with others to go against the 4 board members that are standing strong until they see a MOU, they're not gonna budge. And I'm glad to see that we don't move and we have somebody that's standing strong until you do your own due diligence and not wait until that time right before the meeting and vote on something. And I believe that the public needs to start reading for themselves, researching and doing their own due diligence to understand what's going on here instead of allowing people to persuade them to come and speak up for them. Because I didn't see anybody at GISD, but certain few, when GISD was robbing Flint for over 5-6 years and wouldn't give the Flint Community School kids special needs their money. When Larry Watkins on June the 5th, 2013 signed over the special needs and at the same time center-based dollars. No one stood up, and Lisa Hagel was found to be unfair and illegal, and no one spoke about that. And on top of that, no one is speaking up for the early childhood where Snyder and GISD came in and took it from the 3 Black communities, which is Carmen, Ainsworth, Beecher, and Flint. See, we talk about certain things that benefit us, but we don't talk about what benefits the kids. People go to these tables, how can I benefit instead of how can Flint benefit? And that's how the culture here in the city of Flint has been. It's what I can get out of it, not what the city of Flint can get out of it. And being that I spoke about culture in those MOUs, which is up to number 10 now, what do they mean culture change? These buildings, these new buildings will be a catalyst for culture change. When I hear cultural change, you telling me that you're trying to take my Blackness? Is that what you mean by cultural change? I don't know, but I would really like to know when you do find a time and on your time, when you're ready to speak about it in the MOU, tell me and ask them, what does cultural change mean? Thank you.
The public is reminded that you may submit your comments by email to fboe@flintschools.org to have them read at the next meeting. Thank you. At this time, I seek a motion and a second to go into closed session to consult with legal counsel regarding pending litigation.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we meet in closed session. Board members, when I call upon your name, please say yes or no to go into closed session. Vice President Perry? Yes. Secretary Green?
Yes.
Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McNeil?
Yes.
Board Trustee Walker?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 6 yes, 1 absent. So no. Board members, we are now in closed session. We will meet in the room right behind us here. Public members, we will return here following our closed session. Thank you.
I would like to call the Board Committee of the Whole meeting back to order. Board members, I would now like to entertain a motion and second to accept the recommendations from legal counsel to settle the litigation, resolution 21.1, page 2.
So moved.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we accept the recommendations from legal counsel to settle the litigation. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, the motion to approve the settlement of litigation will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve. Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Wright is absent. Vice President Perry, yes. Assistant Secretary Treasurer McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Secretary Green.
Yes.
And President has stepped out. Okay, motion passes 5 by a vote of 5 yes. That's it. Okay. Okay, presentation. Next on our agenda is Mr. Brian Leffler from R.W. Baird. He is here to share information with the board. Hello and welcome, Mr. Leffler.
Good evening. It's good to see all of you, and thank you very much for inviting me back for tonight's presentation. I had submitted some information earlier in the week. It was just an outline of items that I was going to discuss, but also there was also a flow chart that related to some of the activities that we have been working on together with the administration and actually have been presenting to you over the time. I don't know if it needs to be, I'll wait for a moment here. Well, a little bit background, starting off is the introduction of Baird. It's Robert W. Baird Incorporated. We're headquartered out of Milwaukee, global. The company is essentially owned by the associates, essentially, so we're self-funded for capital. So to some extent, good deeds, good well done. Our approach is that outcomes come from focusing on our clients. And Robert W. Baird is like a broker dealer. So we buy and sell securities. We work with private wealth management. So we have 5 pillars in our company. And the one pillar that I'm in is called capital markets. And underneath capital markets is public finance. And it's actually one of the, I think one of the 4 corners or the 5 corners that we have in our company that, the people at the top really take pride in, because essentially, our culture is essentially to give back to the community, and the only way you do that is essentially kind of have to focus on what's important to the public. My job is to the school district as a municipal advisor, and I have a fiduciary duty to this board. In other words, your interests are my interest. It's not what anybody else. So if there's something that's presented in front of me, my approach is always going to have to give you ideas, recommendation, advice that essentially are in your best interest. More often than not, it's usually in writing, or it can actually be based on a project, or it can be, for example, at any time, I would be more than happy to give that advice to you. You don't have to take the advice, you don't have to take the recommendation, but you need to have the information so that you can make take action on your own. With that, being here, born and raised in Michigan, going to a public schools, going to a public college in Lansing, Michigan, I just have a commitment to Michigan and Michigan schools. I started financing schools, buildings, and then in the Great Recession, I started to move my practice toward municipal advisory, and I really started focus on distressed communities throughout the state. So at that time, working with not only Flint schools, challenges in Benton Harbor, Pontiac, City of Pontiac, City of Flint, work with them. Pretty much worked with every distressed community except for the Detroit bankruptcy. City of Highland Park. One thing I have to say though, I feel really good when after even a decade, the schools who have stayed on a plan essentially are out. So for those that may know about Pontiac schools, their deficit was $52 million. June 30th, 2021, positive fund balance. Takes a while. It's okay, patience. But it's a lot of time working with it. It's a dedication. Some similar things here with Flint, declining enrollment. We have excess school buildings. How do we deal with that? Pay inequities. How do we make sure that teachers are compensated? So working on the whole comprehensive, it's not just bonds and notes and things like that. As my outline, I'm going to say there's a little bit about strategic planning, focus on the holistic approach of how are all these components work together. But at the same time, though, too, the administration and the board need to essentially focus on how do we make this to work together, knowing that, as I keep hearing, even from your public, it's all about kids. Absolutely, it's all about kids. We understand that. My motto is like, you can't cut yourself to the top. It doesn't work. So, but the point is that there's going to possibly at times be hard decisions that will have to be made, but to make those decisions, one has to have the information. So I've been working with the school district for, I want to say less than 10 years, but it's been great. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to continue to do so. And I actually really appreciate the opportunity to come. And I just want to also, I'll be more than happy to come at any time to any meeting, workshop, or whatever's necessary, and put together and share best practices, because that's how all boats in the tide rise together. So some of the basic scope that I do work on are, financings, which is easy to do, tax anticipation notes. The school district has done that in the past. State aid notes, you've done that in the past. The fiscal stability bonds, we worked on that. Energy conservation and capital improvement bonds. And the capital improvement bonds could actually be the bonds that are voted for new buildings or renovations and stuff like that. Other thing is that we can assist with third-party things that you may have, like say with the MOU from the Mott Foundation. How do you leverage that? How do you work with that? How can we make sure that that is being in your best interest? That's something that we can certainly work with the district and the administration on. But one of the things that sometimes there is going to be assistance that may or advice is from the Michigan Department of Treasury. So as you know, that there's times you've approved the memorandum of understanding for Plant Moran Cressa to do some of these assessments. And essentially the Department of Treasury is looking for the report, as we are. But the point is that comes with their dollars, but they just want the report. So which is helpful. It's good information. It needs to be done. So we're looking forward to that. So in addition to that, we have worked with this district or any other districts on weekly cash flows. Prior to all the ESSER dollars that are coming in, and when COVID came in, I had a little bit of a panic because I was concerned about, would people be able to pay their property tax bill? Would you have dollars to operate? What do you do in those situations? So pretty much always we're gearing up to make sure, work with the administration, how's the cash flow? Everything's fine, but it's always being the asset. But the point is that the district here, especially with the administration, the cash flow is always being updated on a weekly or monthly basis just to make sure we're good. So we appreciate that support. Worked with you in the district with the Department of Treasury and the Enhanced Deficit Elimination Plan. We will refer to it commonly as the EDEP. And then working with the Department of Treasury and the coordination. On the second handout, I had a flow chart, is that some of these components that you're working on is going to flow into that EDEP. But it's trying to put it back into that big picture of what's going to be the long-term goal of the board and the community to let the Department of Treasury know how you're going to move out of an enhanced deficit elimination oversight. I've done ballot initiative developments and planning. We can work with that. Disposition of assets, but I mean sale of your buildings, and then how do you do strategic planning for new buildings? I had an engagement the last 5 years working with the state of Wisconsin on the disposition of their excess office buildings to build a brand new one, essentially to cut costs and what's the best way. It was a great project. Things that I worried about is in a building, as you can imagine, as you're a state office worker, what departments should be together? What are what's called adjacency? So who should be next to each other so that you have efficiency? So those are the things that we would work on. And it doesn't seem like it's not financial, but it is really financial. It's how is the best you utilize that space, timing, delivery of services to kids, or in this case for the state workers and things like that to the residents of that state. Last item is general fund budgeting. I mean, I was here at your last board meeting, having you adopt amendments to the 21 budget and then going forward for the FY 2022. Good, it's great, it's a budget. But how often do you want to make sure you get your updates and your bring downs and things like that? And as management, and a lot of it is just having information, and that's the things that we're working with the administration on to make sure that that type of information is ready for you. And then also with the general fund, as you know, there's components, property taxes, what's happening with collection. We're concerned about that. State aid, I was really happy to see that the governor signed $8,700 a pupil. It's a long time coming since for me, remembering when Proposal A was adopted. and how they thought that that was going to provide equity, but right now there still is a lot of equity that has to come in after the $8,700 a kid. And then now the biggest thing is the CARES or essentially your ESSER dollars, and essentially how those one-time dollars have to be used strategically. And that's one of the things that Baird is working with other municipal clients of ours. How do we deploy those dollars to make sure that this one-time money is essentially really, is it sustainable in terms of that investment? And with that, I did have a spreadsheet, and the purpose of this whole, it was like month by month. And on the left-hand side, I was talking about kind of like the big high levels: budget, cash flow, audit, required filings, other EDEPT or other items. And I put it in by the month. So maybe to kind of give the board how we work at just seeing the timing of everything. And I do understand that there's always a process as it relates, especially with the EDEPT or anything else, is that you do need time to receive it, you need time to review it and ask questions. And that's why I'd never put anything in here to say that, oh yeah, it's on a first meeting, then approve it at the next. I kind of put it back, give your time a month to month, especially if the public wants to look at it. I mean, this is going to be strategic. But this also has, so what's not built into this model is, say, other curriculum ideas that you have to have, other things that if you want to, what buildings are important. So this is a framework, so to speak, but it's essentially allowing you to see, okay, what are some of the things that is required of this board, say by law, i.e. your budget has to be adopted by July 1. But also too is how do you get information or update other information as other information is available to you. Your student count in the fall, what does that do to your budget back, say, in January? How is that going to impact the amount of state school aid this district receives? So all those type of things do work together. And I just want to say that, we will be able to work with the administration and the board to provide you that information on a timely basis. And then also too, as it relates to information, as you do receive, like last month, the check registers and things like that. Yeah. We've got to make sure that you understand that. That's understandable, but sometimes, making sure that we get the information to you on a timely basis. It may not be that moment, unfortunately, or what's important to you so that you understand the coding, because I think everybody has a different jargon or understanding what things are put together with. But with that, I just want to say, one, thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I'm definitely here. I live in Lansing. I live in the city of Lansing. Not a problem to get 40 minutes away. I'd be more than happy to. Just want to make sure how I can support you to get the information that you may need and work with both sides of everybody, the administration and the board, as you move forward, because this is a new day, so to speak. Significant dollars will be coming into this community, and the question would also be is then how do you leverage those dollars with your other partners here? I know the city's getting significant dollars as well, but the point is there a way to collaborate? Question is there something from the county? It's going to take some time, and I appreciate that the thoughtfulness, and I think everybody here is very conscious of all that. It's an interesting time, but let's make the best of it together. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does any other board members have any questions for Mr. Leffler? I have a question. We had a charge on one of our check registries, and it said it was on a PNC account for $21,000. The main item said gift cards, but I don't know what the rest of the stuff was. And I want to know what that is. I want to know who went to, if somebody went to, I don't understand how we have, and then when I asked about it, they said it wasn't gift cards, that there were other things purchased. Mm-hmm. Well, either way, I would like to know what were those other things. I don't know if maybe I've misunderstood that, but when I asked, they said it wasn't all gift cards. That was like the main item. So I kind of want a breakdown of that so I can understand that and be able to comprehend what the administration is trying to express to me. I know we spoke with you about a workshop for the board.
Sure.
And I was wondering, are you still open to that?
Yeah, in terms of workshop, absolutely. I would be more than happy to work on that. The same thing is that I've done before is on Policies and procedures is also what you may have that. I'm not as familiar with all your board policy, your procedures as it relates to purchasing cards or P cards as they're called. And who
Okay.
who has a P card in their possession. I mean, I worked with one city, they had like 150 P cards outstanding and they ended up just getting down to 8. And that's because they were trying to rein in the cost or control of who was doing what. I
Yeah.
understand that. But I'd be more than happy to work on a workshop to essentially do what is necessary once it's what's charged of me. So thank you.
Okay, does any other board members have any questions? Okay, go ahead, Ms.
Just
McIntyre.
like to reiterate what you said. I agree. I too have questions that have yet to be answered about some of those line items. For example, the $614,000 for headsets, and almost
Yeah, so
$29,000 for calculators, things like that. Like, we need to just have a better understanding, a better communication, and so we would welcome some kind, just, set up some kind of. workshop.
I can certainly hear what you're trying to say. I understand that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Yes, I'm glad you came here today because it's a lot of things that we're trying to understand as board members, even when it comes to, like, we approved the budget and you was here when we approved our budget. But then sometime when we go back and we look at things and then we realize that, hey, we don't even have an organization chart that's supposed to have been in that budget. So would you be able to navigate something like that with us after we'd approved something? But if what was necessary to be in that budget was not there, or there are other things after we approve it. So would you be able to work with us on those situations as well?
Sure. I think in terms of how the format or the template that you would like to understand it, in terms of how dollars are in certain categories and how things like that can be done. Yeah, definitely. I think to some extent, the budget has certain categories, and as Ms. Stomfrey was saying before, in terms of how things are coded, it's really what you're really looking to is say, what are in all these components and how is that organizational chart done? We can certainly help and kind of put it into like a picture. That's a lot of times it helps me even to say, make sure how things are seen. And then if there's a way to do a budget to actual and how that is being done so that you can see the trends. I mean, keep in mind, a budget is what you do a budget for the year, which you really need. I don't know if you remember the state of Michigan one time, they're going to do budget by quarters. You can't operate that. You got to know what your year is, but then you need to see how the trending is going to be, and that people who are responsible for those individual budgets, i.e. if it's not just the finance director, but there may be people like, are they keeping within their own budget, and they self-discipline themselves as well. So we could work with you on that.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Are there any other questions from board members?
I'm not sure if this would be directed to you. Where is the organizational, is there an organizational chart?
Yeah, there is for purposes of a budget, and this is for the accounting side, there is what is called a uniform chart of accounts. Essentially, that is essentially what they're trying to follow. And a lot of times things are coded, so to speak, in a way so that they can, quote, charge back or get reimbursed for, but that certainly can be shared with you in terms of how that's done, in terms of what are the categories.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay,
I'm just one moment, I just want to write myself a note here.
Is it a way that you can get that information to our board?
Oh, sure, yes, absolutely.
That chart you're speaking of?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
you can send it to our executive secretary, Miss Monica Elston. At this time, I move that we have at this time, I'm going to make a motion. So I'm moving to make the motion that we invite Mr. Leflier to host a budget workshop for the board.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion concerning the budget and as it pertains to Mr. Leflier? Seeing there is none at this time, I will take a roll call vote. As I call your name, please signify by saying yes or no. Vice President Perry? Secretary Green? Financial person, treasurer, treasurer McIntyre. Assistant Secretary / Treasurer McNeil, yes. And Trustee Walker.
Yes.
And myself, Carol McIntosh, that is 6 yes and 1 absent person. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lafleur, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to continue to work with you and look forward to it. So I'll have a good night.
Good night. Next on our agenda is Jamie Martin and Sam Jolly from Vartec. They are here to share some information with the board. Hello and welcome, Mr. Martin and Mr. Jolly. Ms. Martin and Mr. Jolly, let me put my eyes on. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having us back again. I am going to make sure everything is set up here. So we'll have it on the screen to the side. We're also going to project to the smart board behind you. Here we go. Let's restart that back. Here. Start it again. Green screen. Okay.
Let's give them a moment to.
We promised we tested this beforehand too.
That's okay. We're going to wait for you. We know you came a long way. We'll give you a few minutes.
Yeah, it's just- Okay. We'll give a little more time. Do we just need to reboot? Do we just need to reboot the smart board?
Yeah, if you can hit allow.
Oh. Do you want to try?
Come on up.
Yeah, come on up.
We'll only troubleshoot for another minute or so, and then we'll address attention to the side. Here we go.
We just
Thank
wanted
you
to
so
see who
much.
the real smart guy was. Get up
All
here.
right, we will work to be very respectful of your time tonight. Again, thank you so much for inviting us back. My name is Jamie Martin. I am Director of Customer Experience at Vartec. I work very closely with Sam Jolly, our ed tech leader here. So Sam leads the team, and together we work on strategic initiatives to be supported by our leadership team and everything that we do here to improve and enhance the learning environment for our scholars. So we're here today to speak on the current state of a few technology items. This is not necessarily a comprehensive update. We did speak last month, and we're going to come back hopefully soon to talk about cybersecurity. So I will try not to linger too long on that, but certainly can answer questions. But we're here to speak today about some of the questions that have been brought to our attention about educational platforms, internet connectivity across the district, and want to speak to those things. Currently, we know that there is a disparity in inequity in internet access across the buildings, across the district. We know specifically in a couple buildings, they suffer a little bit more than others due to old equipment and lapsed service agreements on that equipment. This equipment was purchased through a grant, and so therefore upgrading and enhancing those pieces of equipment are run through that building and through that grant. Additionally, we know that technology spending and decision-making is at the building level, which can create inconsistency in the use and adoption of educational platforms. And then finally, the district's network is in dire need of an update and an optimization. And we'll talk about the distinction between those two things. We're going to speak first on educational platforms. We work closely with the Office of Curriculum, Sherry Mockles, for specifics. And we know in 2021, the Office of Curriculum had initiated Operation Scaleback, which began with an analysis of district-wide educational platforms, knowing that, again, we had several dozens of different educational platforms at each building, and then looking at that to see what could be done district-wide, supported district-wide to streamline some of those platforms. High-level results of this analysis they found an inconsistent use of numerous math and reading platforms across the district at different buildings. There were multiple learning management systems and tools in various degrees of utilization. For example, there were pockets of Google Classroom being used. Schoology may have been used in certain buildings and different LMS and tools across the district. And there was a lack of singular district-supported assessment tools. And so this is what we have learned from the Office of Curriculum. As the technology department, we support these platforms and tools, and we gain a lot of our information from the Office of Curriculum about what is in play and what we can ensure works together, because ultimately a seamless experience for the scholars is what we're going for here, and the more we can know, the better we can support that. To give an update on current district-wide supported educational platforms, this is by no means comprehensive, but if we're looking at what the teachers and scholars interact with most often, and what your main educational platforms are, you've got your student information system. This is Synergy. You have your learning management system. It was made a decision last year to implement Schoology district-wide. This is a learning management system that will be fully implemented in 21-22. And we understand that that is a major initiative from a training and utilization standpoint for the school. Content filtering, this is to ensure that scholars are visiting educational appropriate websites. It's ensuring that there are no, Sam, you can stop me when I move out of scope here, but it's ensuring that the devices are more secure and what's being done on the devices is educational appropriate. We just recently transitioned from Mobile Guardian over to Securely for student devices. In terms of an ERP platform, the district uses Office 365 and Google. That's something we'll talk about a little bit later. And then as a decision as part of that Operation Scaleback, we have moved to ExactPath and Study Island for Tier 1 instruction and progress monitoring. I do want to make the caveat here that we have worked closely with the Office of Curriculum. By no means are we speaking for them, but we do understand that this is the progress that has been made, and it had been tasked in 2021, progress that has been made, and we have some collaborative recommendations for moving forward on educational platforms. Where we believe there's opportunity for streamlining is the district uses Microsoft and Google. And Sam can speak to a little bit more about how the two interact. But those are two. Do you want to speak to that?
Certainly. So in each case, we're speaking primarily about the educational accounts for the students. So for Microsoft and Google, each of those platforms provide a free service for student accounts. Students are already using a lot of Google products in particular. However, their email is through Microsoft Exchange and can cause some confusion on that front. So that's part of the discussion that we're having with the curriculum and development, and as an option to streamline that. That was just a clarification.
Another opportunity or area for streamlining, and this is what we have recently discussed with the Office of Curriculum, is to determine what the district supported core curriculum platforms would be for math, 9 to 12 science, and K through 6 social studies. So those are areas or curricular areas that still have a lot of multiple platforms across different buildings, which means that from a management, just simply from a management standpoint, when you have renewals or licensing challenges or anything like that, they're operating at the building level, and there might not be a big picture of what that looks like. So this is, I know, on the docket for analysis, and we'll support in that. We'll take the Office of the Curriculum lead or follow their lead and make sure that when evaluating platforms, that they work with our existing district-supported and district-wide platforms to ensure that everything works and talks together in a manner that it should. Any questions on the educational platforms? Well, we have a timeline at the end that we'll go through to make sure we kind of are all on the same page.
Is there a reason why these decisions are made at the building level and there's not at the district level?
Would you like to say, Mr. Jones? Okay.
Title I budgets are building level budgets, and they get to determine what they spend those funds on. The district cannot control what those title dollars are spent on. What we do try to do is partner with the schools and come together with a collective vision of what's necessary and what is not. And we've been doing that with this Operation Scale Back, and teachers have been on board as well as administrators to try to scale back to using fewer apps than we've been using for the last couple of years.
And when you say building level, are you talking about building administration at the building level, or are you talking about the
leadership team, teachers, all staff is involved with the school improvement plan, which has turned into MyKIP now, but they meet and discuss what it is they want to spend those title dollars on.
Is there any, you were saying that you attempt to make a coordination effort between.
I can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's an attempt to make a coordinated effort, but is there, what is that?
Again, those dollars, what we can do is discuss with building leaders what the district's vision is and where we're planning to go academically, what you should spend those dollars on, and then the building administrators along with their leadership team and staff can determine what apps they would like to spend those dollars on. Now, what we have decided as a district is our district instructional specialists will not be responsible for working with teachers on all the apps that buildings decide they want to use. We have to bring that down to a minimum so that the work of the district instructional specialists can get done. So what they've been doing is spending a lot of time learning apps for teachers, individual teachers across the district, and you know how many teachers we have, which has caused them not to really focus on the work that needs to be done with our scholars. So that's the reason why we started this scale back, is because our district instructional specialists, our curriculum team, has been spending so much time mentoring one-on-one on how to use an app. And so that's really that's just overload. And we've never been able to really get to the work that we need to get to. So this is really important for our success next year and our recovery plan for our scholars. So that's how we have to work with the school when it comes to their title budget.
So the district instructional specialists are administrators in the administration building.
They're teachers.
They're teachers who are administrators in the administration building.
They're not administrators. They are teachers on special assignment.
In the administration building?
They work in the schools. They do not work in the administration building. However, they do come down to meet with us and the curriculum team, but they work in the buildings. They're assigned to buildings.
Okay, because I was confused about how it would be like a local decision. And if
they work with the curriculum team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one more question.
Yes,
oh shoot, forget my question. How do the teachers feel about potentially losing their autonomy in terms of input into platforms and curriculum?
So I can't speak for every single teacher because not all teachers showed up to those content meetings to have their voice. But for those that showed up, for those that had the opportunity to survey and talk about what they wanted to keep and what they wanted to scale back, we've had many of our teachers say, we need to do this because it's stopping the system. I mean, it's overloading the system. It's not that we're telling them that they can't use their apps. What we're telling them is our district instructional specialists can't spend time on over 250 apps and still progress monitor and do the work that they need to do in the classrooms with teachers. So did we have some pushback? Of course we did, because teachers want to use what they want to use. But what we did allow all the teachers to do was determine what apps we want to keep, and our district instructional specialists will help them with. So they did have a say in what apps they thought was best for the district to continue to support them in the classroom with.
Follow-up question to that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
a say in the process, is that like some of the surveys that you've done where there's been 13 respondents?
No, they made determination.
I mean, how are they, I'm not, no offense to,
No problem.
to you, but I'm not really impressed with the surveys that have been given out to the teachers and to the staff,
Okay.
eliciting their input. You know, for example, one of the surveys had a result of, or a survey response of 13 out of 350 potential respondents. And so I'm concerned about getting input from the actual people who are teaching. And,
Sure.
and as an educator myself, I would have, I mean, I understand the need to universalize and standardize the curriculum, but academic freedom and control of the curriculum and autonomy is essential to community schools.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Jones, I just got one quick question as it relates to, you talked about the one-on-one time that sometimes happens between the administration and teachers as it relates to getting them up to speed on the technology. Mm-hmm. Is there more robust efforts? Because the world of tech, as you know, is always changing for that PD piece. And I would also argue, again, I hear from parents as well, right? When the kids get home and that tech divide being there. So the opportunity for them to also be involved in on that process so they can, again, help at home as we continue to talk about the whole child.
Sure.
Just wanted to know a little bit of insight around that.
So what's been awesome is this year, as you can see in the continuity of learning plan that I have been presenting, I showed you the PDs that was available for our parents, not only our parents, but for our staff that was ongoing with our district instructional specialists. And we had many teachers reach out and say, thank you. A lot of our teachers didn't really know how to use the platforms that they had to use during the pandemic. And so our district instructional specialists was giving PD after school. Our content leads had meetings every month. And in those meetings, we can't make teachers come to those meetings, nor did we want to make them come. But those that came were able to get that extra support. And also during PLCs, they're also getting that support as well. But what we're finding is we need to concentrate on the goal areas that our scholars need support in more than we're concentrating on an application. And so DIBELS, the DIBELS, our scholars and the scores we get back. Your question to me is going to be next year, what are we doing about this? Well, if I'm spending 50% of my time on an app, I'm not doing what I need to do as our Department of Academics. So we had to scale back in order to move forward. And so, yes, we always have opportunities for professional development. Some of our professional development is paid for, some of it is not. And that's due to, you can't double dip. You can't have teachers in professional development when they're teaching during the school day. So you can't double dip funding in that manner. So to answer your question, we're going to always have opportunities for our teachers to have professional development on the apps that they discussed in their content meetings to use in the upcoming year.
Are there any other questions? Ms. Green?
Just out of sheer curiosity, I think it was under security. You say we transitioned to mobile gardening.
from
What-
Mobile Guardian to Securely.
Mobile Garden to security?
Mhm.
Why is that? What does that mean?
Do you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. So Mobile Guardian is a content filter, as Jamie mentioned previously, primarily to protect the students, make sure they're accessing appropriate content. We had difficulties with the support team with Mobile Guardian, as well as, for example, there were large periods of time during the pandemic where students couldn't access educational websites to complete schoolwork. And as part of that, so we then decided to move to Securely. Securely has better integration with both Chromebooks and iPads, which are both used throughout the district. Their support is much better, and the platform is more robust. Yes.
Was it a savings for the district in that? Just out of curiosity.
Yes. So I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I believe Securely is licensed per student instead of per device. So there is a cost savings there. I can find those numbers for you.
Okay, just curious.
Sure.
Appreciate you.
Are there any other questions? I did want to, it's more like a comment because that's so discouraging to hear him say the teachers won't come to learn the apps and this is what we're using to educate our students. And some of them don't know how to use the apps to educate our students, but they're collecting a check. And didn't we just give them a bonus? So my next statement is if they can't do a little extra to get their real job done, then maybe on the next go round we need to withdraw some of them bonuses. We're not going to go the extra mile if you won't go the extra mile in your job. This is their job, okay? And when you can't do your job and educate our students, we lose students. And when we lose students, you lose jobs. And that's how schools close. So I just want to put that out there. And I've been an advocate voice stating that going the extra mile is for everybody. It ain't just for the administration. It ain't just for the board. Because this board gets paid little or nothing. And I stay up many a nights reading this thick packet. I'm on my real job, my day job, reading my packet between parts. Okay? I'm not getting no health insurance, not no real pay. This stipend ain't even really enough to fill up my car. So when I hear the assistant superintendent tell me that we had educators who may not have known what they were doing, but refused to show up to learn how to do what they're supposed to be doing, I'm gonna be honest, that put a bad taste in my mouth. I'm gonna be all this old yay and these dollars. We can find something else to do with that money because the need in this district is major. So that's all I have to say. And but I did want to ask Vartek. Okay, Mr. Walker. Okay. And maybe we need to get. You have something, Miss Laura? I just was asking what you. Okay, so I do want to speak with you to see how we can get together because I guess we would need to get with Mr. Kaplan and find out how we can move this piece forward for you guys to upgrade us. I don't know where this would fall in under in our budget, but I guess we have to get with Ms. Donpre and take a look or to see if they had any upgrades planned.
What do you mean?
Because I'm finna make a motion that we get some of this, Are you finished? Well, I thought she said she was finishing
No,
questions.
just on this section.
Oh,
There's
I
a
thought you were done. Go
No,
ahead,
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Miss, okay, well, are you still needing to go?
I would just like to I just want to say that I don't share those sentiments, Carol, and I have to say it as an educator, it's not fair to. That's not what I heard him saying, is that they wouldn't show up and do their job and learn the apps. And as an educator myself, who's been U of M was trying to require me to do 30 hours of unpaid training during the COVID pandemic just to teach online. I think that's really unfair, and I think we need to support the teachers. And I just couldn't let that stand because I just didn't feel like that was supportive as a board. And teachers, I commend you and staff, parents as teachers. So I just needed to say.
Well, I have all the compassion for our teachers, but hold on, because I didn't interrupt you. But our students and our parents suffered in the midst of a pandemic, and you didn't have one student in your building. So if you're an educator and you can't use the technology, how will you connect? So I don't know how much work they're doing, and I'm not going to even argue and go back and forth, but I feel like when the student is not present in the building, and the only way you can reach the students is by technology, and you refuse to learn the technology, then in my opinion, and I don't care who it is, from the administration on down, I'm no respecter of position or title. I'm trying to help our district. When you refuse to learn, the only Okay, well, I'm done with this. You're right. This is the conversation, not for the board meeting, Miss Laura. Go ahead. Yes, we do. Go ahead, Mr. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Continue.
Okay, so that was the educational platform side. Over the last 90 days, our team has been working on a technology optimization plan. Because that's a mouthful, I'll say TOP when I refer to it. So technology optimization plan. That's a plan that we will present in its final form to you following this board meeting, but it covers technological risks and then mitigation strategies and milestones to overcome or achieve those strategies. So I won't belabor this. You'll get this PowerPoint and printout copy after the meeting. But it looks at 4 different areas, cybersecurity being one of them. I know, Mr. Walker, we had a conversation and we're going to have touch points on that, and we'll talk about some of those milestones here a little bit later. But some of the risks, we lack implementation of industry best practices regarding cybersecurity, and we have some, I would say, simple steps to get us in a better place cybersecurity wise. From a system standpoint, current systems environment are not, or this is a little outdated because we'll tell you what we've been doing over the last month or so, but not configured to properly support enterprise level device and personnel management. The current structure for purchasing and introducing devices, which as we've talked about has been at the building level, has presented a strain on staff and infrastructure. We know that we've purchased several thousand new devices, and that needs to be taken into consideration as we look at infrastructure updates and what it's going to be like to bring everybody back on their devices in the fall. On the network side, the wired and the wireless side, the entire infrastructure is largely past end of life and not designed to minimize downtime in the event of service outages. So then when we look at end of life, we're looking at not only older equipment, and we consider end of life in our asset refresh plan that we prepare every year to be 5 years and older. And so that's even stretching it. So a lot of equipment doesn't even last that long. Our Chromebooks are more on a 3 to 4 year kind of refresh. But when we're looking at infrastructure equipment, anything beyond 5 years is end of life. Then you start running into lack of support agreements expiring, those kinds of things. So when the network is built on that, we experience challenges. We also don't have much of a backup inventory of network equipment to replace anything that might go out. And then from an Active Directory standpoint, really where your organization kind of comes from a user standpoint, there's an inefficient design which can lead to security risks and a lack of elegance in that design. So it's not good to discuss risks without mitigation strategies. So on the cybersecurity side, we have been working and have presented end user education platform that is designed to test, assess, and then train end users on cybersecurity awareness. We've have secured a quote through a company called TechGuard. The company is actually called InfoSec. Their program is called TechGuard, and we've worked with Ms. Murphy in the director in federal programs to present that and hopefully get that through so that we can implement that together in 21-22. We recommend enabling 2-factor authentications. There's no cost to this. It's already included in our licensing with Microsoft and would add that extra layer of account security. We recommend strengthening password policies, and I'm going to lump these two together a little bit. They tend to come with behavioral changes, and the hurdle is less financial and more getting change to happen and get people used to a new password or used to having a second authentication method in addition to some of the authentication I don't know if that's what you're going to say, Mr. Walker.
Yeah,
about-
well, I was going to ask you, what is a two-factor
Sure.
authentication for
I'm gonna-
students per se, right? Like if I don't, like normally two-factor for me, if I log into something, then it'll send something to my cell phone. So if I don't have a cell phone, what does that look like for a
Sure.
student?
So this recommendation is for staff and administrators and faculty right now, because you do present we can't have a kindergartner try to do two-factor authentication. But some of the same challenges do hold when we talk about, our adults and our adults with accounts. And so some of the things that we've put in from a research standpoint are different options, whether you have it ring to a desk phone that you might be nearby or have a key fob, and we have those recommendations, those options prepared. And we're targeting, as you'll see in the timeline later, implementation of two-factor authentication in October, so that it's not during school startup and causing a lot of unnecessary stress, but it does happen during this year. Another recommendation and this is more physical security than cybersecurity, but is introducing some physical security to network closets. So where all that equipment that I was talking about when we do upgrade it, making sure that there's actual locks and security on those closets, so that we notice, and you've probably heard about, either stolen property in some of the buildings that have been closed down, or vandalism, or different things like that. That risk is something that we're presented with, and we want to be able to secure that fresh equipment, even the current equipment. And then on the system side, optimizing device management systems, reconfiguring the server environment, and then the transition that we talked about from Mobile Guardian to Securely. And I belabored this longer than I meant to, so I'll move a little bit more quickly. Network, we'll talk about what that's going to look like to replace the outdated network equipment. Relocating the fiber from Northern, which is a huge just risk with it being in a building that's not open and functional. That's where we see a lot of our vandalism, or if something goes down, the fiber hub is located at Northern. So getting that out, and you can speak to this more if there's questions, getting that out of Northern reduces some of that risk. And then redesigning the enterprise wireless network. Active Directory, cleaning up accounts and organizational units so that we can push out updates with more efficiency and efficacy. Any questions on those, the risks or the mitigation strategies? Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. Could we go back to that?
Yep.
When we talking about relocate the fiber
Yes,
from
ma'am.
Northern, from that Northern school? What kind of expense would that be if Bartek had to do that? What type of expense would that be like?
That's a good question. I would have to, it's not typically within our contracts to actually do the physical labor of relocating cabling, so I don't have a number off the top of my head. I do know that this is currently in process, and is it being done by GISD or by SET?
Yep, so the GISD is managing the process. They are responsible for the fiber network. They are responsible for what's called GenNet, which our school uses as an internet service provider. So what's happening here is the GISD is working with a fiber contractor called FiberLink. They're performing the actual physical work of locating and removing the fiber from the building and putting it basically onto a pole. So it becomes part of the fiber network. It'll be the GISD's responsibility at that point. We don't have to worry about vandalism, power outages. For example, if Northern were to lose power, then there are two other buildings that get their internet through Northern, and they would be without phones and internet during that time as well. And also removing the fiber from Northern will be a cost savings for the school district as well.
Ms. Green?
Who's paying for it to be moved? Is that something, who covers that expense?
So I don't have the details off the top of my head. The way I understand it is the GISD is managing that, and then we'll bill the district for our portion, which is a mere percentage of the total. It's not 100% of the bill.
It's not 100% what?
It's the Flint School District's responsibility to pay for it is not 100% of the total cost. Right, so it's only a portion. I don't have those numbers, unfortunately, but I apologize.
So GISD selected the contractor, but we're responsible for a portion of it. Do we have any say in that?
Can you repeat that?
Right, so the GISD is responsible for the physical fiber network,
Okay.
right? It connects all of our buildings together and our internet routes to the GISD. They serve as our internet service provider. They're responsible for the fiber network. outside of our internal network. So they use FiberLink, the fiber contractor, for any fiber breaks or fiber outages, and they are performing this fiber move as well.
As far as the process for them choosing a contractor, I don't know that we were privy to that, as we are just ensuring that we have people there if they need it and making sure that it continues on and gets completed.
When you say relocate, where would you relocate it
Where's it
to?
going?
So right now, there's a piece of network equipment that is sitting inside Flint Northern, which requires electricity and security. Since Flint Northern is closed and there are buildings that get their internet through Flint Northern, we are, with the GISD, removing that network equipment from the building and incorporating it into the fiber network that goes along. It's called aerial fiber. It goes along the telephone poles. So instead of being in the school building and therefore the district's responsibility, it's going to be part of the physical fiber network and will be the GISD's responsibility.
Okay, Danielle wasn't finished. Go ahead, Ms. Green.
So my thought is moving this fiber network is not cheap. That's just a guess. And for the district to have to pay a portion of it, you know, that's concerning to me because I didn't know it was currently in process. Did I miss something?
That's what I was
Okay,
thinking.
because I thought I need my glasses, but it says, so when do we, I mean, you guys may not know, but I'm just curious as to when were we going to find out and what is it going to cost us? And we might have been able to find a cheaper contract. So that's concerning to me.
It was in our financial meeting.
Yesterday?
The subject came up about a contract that they wanted to use, and we just doing some research on it and trying
But
to
if
get
it's in
more
the
information.
current process, that means it's already
We're
doing.
just left in the dark on this.
That's the bottom line. That's it.
Can Ms. John Praise speak on that?
Oh, absolutely.
So it was part of our.
Can she have the microphone,
Yeah, I
please?
was just
Thank
gonna
you.
Thank you. So it was part of our ESSER 2 grant, and the cost is $9,000. So we're already prepared to pay for that $9,000. And the original cost was going to be about 40 grand.
Okay.
And because of E-rate, which is what Mrs. McNeil is referring to, we spoke about in our finance meeting yesterday, because the E-rate funding, we have a discount, and so our portion is $9,000. And we're going to take care of that using our ESSER 2 funds, and that grant was brought to you all in May and approved.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. But just going forward, y'all,
Yeah,
you shouldn't be the last to know, I'm thinking. You know, that's
Because if it was, because if it was 9, did we vote to, we did vote on that? Okay, y'all, they say we voted on it now.
So with Bartex, once we get this relocated, is that Bartex, you guys will continue to work with whoever, once we get this, you continue to work on this program?
Ms. Green, would you say what you said? Can we, what, I didn't hear the rest of that. Can we, I need to hear what you said.
just going forward, because a lot of times I feel like our backs are against the wall, or we, you know, and it bothers me because it has been going on since I've been on the board. And to me, that's one of those situations, something currently in progress. I may have missed something. I acknowledge that, but I had no idea. You know, it's only 9,000, but I'm thinking, okay, 9,000 may have been used on something. You know, I'm just thinking financially, we're a district that's struggling, and we need to count every dollar real careful.
So I don't think we really discussed the relocation piece. I think that was in the process of it all. I don't think we went into complete detail.
Okay.
But it was approved, but I think what you're asking is having more detail about when things are happening,
Yeah, absolutely.
more information.
More there you go. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
I remember us saying something about some internet stuff in Northern. So and maybe we missed the details, but I do remember a discussion around a nice piece of equipment being left at Northern and that we were going to utilize it for the district. So,
I remember that.
yeah, so we won't place the blame.
Is this evolving though? Is this evolving as we are taking care of this? Are there other pieces that are coming into this, or is it just, it is what it is?
Are you asking us?
I'm asking, I said, Mr. Jolly. I'm sorry.
Yes. So, thank you. The process is in place and happening. The way it works is we have it's called a fiber switch. It's an expensive piece of network equipment that's sitting at Northern, which constantly gets broken into. So we're essentially we're removing that piece of equipment, putting it on a pole. It's much more secure, it's streamlined, and it becomes the GISD's. It's important to stress that it's the GISD's responsibility at that point, because just having it out of Flint Northern itself is a huge security bonus for us, and a potential cost savings for electricity and CSM having to go out to make repairs. It reduces downtime. So if the internet at Flint Northern goes down, or the network or power goes down, then both DTM and Eisenhower would also lose phones and internet. And they often have to leave for the day because of lack of phones.
And if I know there's a hand up. If I can I answer kind of a bigger question to that? Like this is a component of the emergent need to bring everything up to date. So that I said earlier, kind of a dire need for updating and then for optimization. This is part of that dire need, and we'll talk a little bit more on some of those other components. I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to.
Ms. Perry.
Just a comment. I just find this very interesting that we can now move that out of Northern. Under the past 3 superintendents, they said we never could move that out of Northern. It had to stay in there. So I just find this very interesting that now it can be moved. Because the board, for the past 3 superintendents, this board has asked for that to come out of there because of Northern being broken into a lot. And it was always said, oh no, we can't do that, we can't do that. And then here we are. So I don't know what was going on with folk back then, but here we are now, able to move it. So thank you, Bartek.
Thank you. If I may speak to that just briefly. So in the past, I think there was a lack of funding availability, and the actual cost to move the fiber was more expensive in years past, just like technology costs tend to decline over time. So too, the cost to move and lay new fiber has also been reducing over time. So I think we're just in a lucky happenstance of having the ESSER and E-rate funding and the reduced cost of the move itself. So I think we're just at a good timing for that.
Ms. McIntyre.
But I agree with Trustee Perry. I remember sitting in the audience as a concerned parent and being told it couldn't be moved. Not that it was cost prohibitive, but that it couldn't be moved. So, I mean, I understand the explanation, but I don't think that it's adequate, and nor do I think it's your responsibility to have an explanation for that. And I would like to highlight how I was asking for more detailed analysis of the ESSER funding and the spending when some of those grants came to be approved and passed, and I stressed objections and was told not to micromanage and to hurry it up and get out of it. So I just would like to express that these are things that we really need to spend a little bit more time on. And then my question, with the GISD having our network, how many other school districts is GISD responsible for the network? Is it responsible for Grand Blancs and Davison?
Yes, they're responsible for the vast majority of the Genesee County school districts. So they have the fiber network that runs throughout the county, and they serve as the internet service provider and often the host of servers of systems that all the school districts run.
You said the vast majority. Which school districts do they
I can get a list for you, and I promise that I'll get it to you in a prompt way.
And do you know when that transition occurred in terms of GISD having control of the network?
Yes, so we have the internal Flint Schools network, and then we have what are called uplinks. So we have currently 4, soon to be 3 as soon as the Northern project is done, and that's the point of our responsibility going to the GISD's responsibility. So anything that connects our schools internally, we're responsible for VLANs and IP routing and all the technical things within our own network. And then anything that connects the network as a whole to the GISD's network, the GISD is responsible for that. That goes over external fiber. So Flint School District and VARTEC, we're responsible for everything that is within our network. I hope I'm explaining this.
Well, I mean,
in a clear way.
so from the inception, GISD had control over that?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know if there was like a time that there was a transition. And I don't know if you can answer this question, but Northern, is there anything else being operated out of that building, or is it just that one pole with a piece of equipment that is not very securely guarded?
I've had the opportunity to go there a few times to help repair the damaged network equipment. There's nothing that is officially happening. No programs are being run out of Flint Northern as far as I'm aware, but there are lights on, broken glass. There's just all sorts of vandalism in the building, and we have the one important fiber network equipment on the second or third floor, and that's the only vital important thing that's there at the moment.
But I don't know that we can speak if there's anything else that's going to be pulled out of Northern in addition to that.
I don't have a motion to make or anything. I mean, I would really like to have an investigation into this as to why this is happening. And just as a person who's been in the board meetings over the years and being told no, 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 and then getting to this point, there's got to be something we can do. There's got to be some kind of institutional memory, and I'm getting tired of being told, well, that was the last superintendent or a previous superintendent or 3 superintendents. I don't care how many superintendents it was. I want the records, I want the documentation for this, and I want to figure out what happened. And I want some accountability for this. So, like I said, I don't have a motion to make now, but I will be following up on this. Very angry.
Ms. McNeil?
I think back to Ms. Perry's statement, you remember back in the days, there was like a $1 million to $2 million to talk about, even think about relocating these fibers. However, I think one of the biggest problems that the board is having, we have these ESSA funds here. Administration is not being transparent, coming to this board and telling us, when are you using these ESSA funds and getting our approval on this, so that it does not leave us in the dark. Now, Ms. Dunpray just came up and she said what they're going to do, but these are ESSA funds. This should have came to the board first. Then we don't have to spend all this time digging and picking. The ESSA funds should, when you're using that fund, should come before the board. The board needs to approve these things. Then we won't have this long conversation because they're using the ESSA fund to do this. And I think if we be a little bit more transparent in our decision-making process. So administration does not have the luxury to say, well, I'm going to take the ESSA fund, which is good that you're doing it, but we're sitting here in front of the whole world and they're doing stuff that we don't know. And we are the board. And that's the problem right there, that we having this long out conversation, all because administration did not come to this board with the recommendation, what they were going to do with these ESSA funds, and we're going around this whole circle while we are here talking about Northern. So I think that we need to be making a motion about these ESSA funds, how they're spent, and the board be included. We are the board, and no one should be above us. They have to report to the board, and you have to explain these things to us. I don't want to waste VARTEC's time because they came in to help us work on doing an IT infrastructure plan, and I wanted Mr. Jones to be involved in this because it's a lot of work to do. But we do need to make some type of motion about these ESSA funds because they're just writing checks all over the place, and we're sitting here, we might not well be here. Is administration going to run this district, or are we going to run it? But I don't want to waste VARTEC's time and let them finish their presentation. But Mr. Jones, the whole thing was that they come here and we work on look at what we have been talking about, that IT infrastructure plan. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead.
Ms. Green?
Just to be quick, so when you say GISD will be responsible externally, correct? What does that mean? Responsible for what? The monies related to?
No, they're responsible for the maintenance of the physical fiber network.
Okay.
Right. So the Flint School District is responsible for the internal network within the buildings.
Okay.
And the GISD pays for and maintains the physical fiber that connects our whole district to the Genesee County fiber network.
I just want to say it bothers me when GISD is responsible for anything that's supposed to be better for the Flint Community Schools, because they've proven that they don't have our best interests time and time again. So that bothers me. Anytime we set ourselves up to be dependent on GISD, it bothers me. Exactly, Laura. That's it.
Is that anybody else?
I just.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
I just want to make sure we are clear for those of us who's working in the administration to correct this. And I mean, correct this. When we presented the ESSER funds, are you asking for more information to be put into what we present to you? Because we did present this information, I'm really trying to understand what extra you guys want, or do you want, when we're about to pay for things, to have information on hey, this is what we're paying for this month? Is that what you're?
I think what would have been appropriate is that we was in the, I don't want to tell Bartek's time up as well, but these are conversations we have to have. We was doing the A1 Network Consultant contract. This was new to the board, had never been to the board. We didn't know how this money was going to come. We didn't know how it was going to be paid. Now we're just hearing today that it's coming through the ESSER fund. I'm just saying, prior to us getting here, if that was presented in these budget meetings or subcommittee meetings, it would be a little bit more transparent and make things transparent, that we have this information, so we don't have to be in the public with this information, if that makes sense. Because this could have been, when I brought it to the president, I was trying to get information on this company. What are we getting ready to do? What are we doing? What are we doing? Where are we going? So that's where we're at here. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, Mr. Jones, but that information should have been provided in the finance meeting. I think Ms. McIntosh asked about it in so many ways, and we didn't have this much information. We got more information here than we could have did in that meeting at the subcommittee. And when it comes to those ESSER funds, I just think that we should have been advised that, hey, this is coming out the ESSER fund. We don't know when you're going to spend it out and what you're spending out. That is what my concern, but that is not where I have Vartex. We have Vartex here is to work with you, work with us on infrastructure. This conversation about these ESSER funds can be done at a table and done at another time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Would you like to proceed?
I will, yes. Thank you so much. As far as next steps, hopefully, this will be better seen in printout, but to give you an idea of some network projects that are in order that it may have been in process for a while. So going through some of those on a bit of a timeline here. As part of network upgrades, as I said earlier, there's an urgent need to kind of have this emergency update, and then there's optimization, because we want to make sure that scholars come back and have an environment that is optimal for teaching and learning. Some things that have been in process, there was a switch installed to network, or a piece of network equipment that was finally completed in June 2021. We talked earlier about some of those organizational system updates that make sure that we can control the devices a little bit better, making sure all those apps that we've talked about on the educational platform side are getting pushed out appropriately to the devices so the students have what they need to access them. There is an upcoming access point refresh, so making sure that there's new, updated. I talked earlier about how we look at end-of-life equipment. We're updating 255 access points. This was, I think, presented probably 6 months ago. Supply chain has caused it so that they're going to be arriving in August. But they will be nearly a complete one-for-one replacement of 255 access points across the district. There was an additional audit done on Holmes and Brownell because they were a part of a a grant that had some of their equipment, and so they were surveyed separately. And there will be an additional recommendation of what it will look like to upgrade those access points. When that occurs, roughly 355 access points across the district will be new. And that'll improve what's happening in the classrooms in terms of internet. Those access points though are dependent on switches. And so we did upgrade 22 with Sentinel as the project manager, did upgrade 22 of them. But what we recommend is to upgrade all of them. So a number that we have here in the timeline of roughly 825,000 is upgrading the remainder of the switches. They are an expensive piece of equipment that makes sure that internet can flow through everything we just talked about from the fiber into those access points and reach the students for wireless network. These are ballpark figures based on quotes that we've had in the past. Because of the different surveys that need to be done and analysis that needs to be done, we don't have current quotes, but these are, again, estimates based on what we've seen. The asterisks on the access point refresh for the 255, that was done in 2021. So that was already done and purchased. Again, supply chain caused it so that it's not coming in until August. The remainder of these figures are what we would recommend to get us that better place. After we would recommend, after the access point refresh is completed of the 355 total, plus the switch upgrade, then we would do a network analysis. So we've got all brand new equipment. We've got students and teachers back in the buildings like they were not last year. Now we can do an accurate network analysis of what the environment looks like when it's being used. So we couldn't have done a network analysis until everybody comes back to the building, because that's not going to give us an accurate read of what the drain is on the network, what that, what the bandwidth looks like, what throughput, all those different kinds of metrics that we would need. And we would use that network analysis to then design a brand new system. Systems currently, or the network is currently designed, and with buildings opening and closing, it can be changed, or it can, have some, I don't want to say, it might be poorly designed based on where buildings are open and closed. So once we get new equipment in, we would run a network analysis and then provide a redesign recommendation. Any questions on that? And this is something that we will, go ahead.
No, I didn't have a question, but again, we've talked a lot about the ESSER dollars, and we know we received a lot. And one of the eligible use of expenses towards ESSER dollars is upgrading our technology equipment. So as we're having this conversation, again, everything that has been recommended has been great, but I want to make sure that we're thinking about it, not just, again, keeping the lights on, but really using this time to reimagine and be innovative for how we approach our technology while we have the resources to be able to use. So with just, again, appreciate the recommendations, but again, I just want to make sure that we're really leaning on you all in terms of being the experts, in terms of helping us make sure that we're being innovative, so we can, again, make sure that not only we're providing quality, but we're forward looking as well as it relates to what the future of technology looks like within our school district.
Yes, sir, and that's the optimization part. And what we don't want to do is on your behalf be short-sighted and trying to get to that point without having the ability to assess what it looks like when everybody comes back and we have 3x the number of devices that may or may not be turned on during the day and different things like that. But absolutely, that's the ultimate experience that we're working towards as well. The equipment will need to be upgraded regardless of what the design looks like, because it is so outdated. And so if we collaborate and say let's look at the design first and then work on the equipment purchases, we can certainly do that. But this is what we would be looking at currently.
Ms. Green, then Ms. McIntyre.
I know we have to do some things for updating and for our future educating our children, but I want us to be careful not to go on a technology shopping spree. And I say that because for lack of better words, but like Ms. Perry said, we were told that it couldn't be done. All of a sudden, everybody know we're getting some money or we can make it happen. That's concerning. That doesn't make sense to me. I just want us to be really careful, and I'm just saying us as a board, not to go on a shopping spree, because once somebody know you got some money, they offer you all kind of stuff. And do we have anybody working somebody who doesn't stand to gain anything, a neutral party that could say, okay, this is what the Flint Community Schools needs to do? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not saying you guys don't know, and I don't mean to imply that, but for us to be careful, we need to do everything to stack things in our favor. We just have to.
Yes.
So I like shopping sprees too, not technology, but I'm saying them some big numbers. So we need to be careful to make sure this is what we need and not just because we got money to spend. That's it for me. That's it.
Ms. McIntyre?
So to be fair to Vartech, I did request this information, and I am very grateful that you came all this way to do this presentation and spent an inordinate amount of time pulling this together. So just so that you guys know, I did kind of request their expertise, which they provided, which donated their expertise. And so this was asked for. It didn't come out of the blue, and it's not like, oh, let's spend this, but whether we like it or not, this type of technology is integral and essential to education moving forward, and we really don't want to have a technology gap, especially with Flint schools. And so, I mean, I don't see this as a shopping spree necessarily. I see this as
Just my words. Just my words.
Yeah. But I mean, I appreciate, it's not like, I just wanted to give you some context that I did ask them for some of this, advice and this information so that we could have more information moving forward. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just want to make it clear to the public. Mr. Jones has been working with Vartech on some of the stuff. Him and I have been in very good, close relationship. So I don't want the public to think like this is something new. We're just trying to let the public know and let the board know the direction that we're going, and that like Mr. Jones says, a lot of stuff you're bringing that's new. Technology change every day. And keep in mind, we had the oldest infrastructure in the world probably, and it's not going to be cheap, but it's time that we start to living in the now. And we can't live in the now with what we have now. And we have an opportunity to spend this money and to get this IT infrastructure plan on board. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of your time, but I just want the public to think that our district was just sitting back and not doing anything. We're just trying to pick it up, speed it up, and get the best result, putting two heads together. Am I clear on that, Mr. Jones? Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's nothing new, but the board didn't know. We didn't know where we was at IT-wise. So I asked Vortech to come in and let's talk about where we at and bring the board up to our date because I had to reach out to Mr. Jones to get some information. Then I went out to Vortech. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and you're doing a great job. We're not going to hold up your presentation much because we got to get through this here. We got to get through this agenda.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. And just to kind of cap that, we want to make sure that the devices that the district is invested in can be utilized. And so we're really working at in the back end to make sure that those experiences in the classroom can be had. And so the future experiences and the current experiences. So those are these recommendations. I spoke about systems and cybersecurity. We can speak when we come back to present, if you'll have us back, about cybersecurity and some of those specific recommendations and what an end-user education platform like TechGuard can do. And so that timeline is brief, more brief. And then, just closing the loop on the educational platform analysis. While, again, we will take the Office of Curriculum's lead on this or follow their lead, we will work in close collaboration because ultimately we want to ensure that whatever district-wide supported or district-supported platforms are chosen, that we can ensure that they work together, they talk together, and they do what the district is wanting them to do for the scholars. Very, very early stages, and this really depends on what the ultimate equipment upgrade looks like in the immediate future versus what it will look like long term. But after those immediate and critical upgrades that we recommended a couple slides back, our engineers will conduct an analysis to be able to form the basis of network optimization. So be able to say, what does the new equipment do for us from an experience standpoint? We have everybody drawing on the network because class is in session, and what does it look like to optimize that design? It may result in the purchase of additional equipment in terms of access points so that they are spread more effectively throughout the classrooms and in the hallways, so we don't have experiences where people have to step out of a classroom and they have the connectivity that they need at the desks or in their learning spaces. And then another thing that would come out of that would be rewiring. So upgrading the wiring that's going around the district is currently Cat 5E. And there is an upgrade available to Cat 6E. And that would be, again, based on a redesign. So not something we want to go in and recommend this building get upgraded now from a wiring standpoint in that building, because it doesn't serve the ultimate end goal of a complete redesign. And so these will evolve, will work together on what these look like. Some projects are in process, as we've talked about, but as we work through the technology optimization plan, we'll be sure to provide updates in our monthly tech updates that come, or our board updates that come in the board packet, as well as our quarterly ones with the administrative team. I believe we have reached the end.
Okay, now is this equipment gonna be operable if we were able to get some type of solar system? Would it be compatible with that?
That is a good question. Not one I'm prepared to answer tonight as it relates to the ability to be solar powered, but something we can absolutely look into if that's the direction the district wants to go in, what kind of compatibility there is.
And I appreciate you being honest instead of just saying yes to sell us.
Oh, I would be way outside of my scope to speak on solar compatibility. And so we have these in printout version we will make available so that you can review those. And again, excited to come back the next time as well. Any other questions?
Okay, Mr. Walker.
Just really quick, in your follow-up presentation for the cybersecurity piece, will you all highlight like what the backup plan will be, like if our system ever is compromised?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
No, just thank you again.
Thank you all
Okay,
for.
And sorry for the interruptions, and it just turned into a robust discussion.
I'd rather answer them in time than at the end.
Ms. Martin and Mr. Jolly, when do you think you'll be prepared to present or come to us about the other portion of the technology? How long do you think it'll take you to get that information together?
Can you clarify which portion? The cybersecurity one?
The cybersecurity.
We can be prepared to present at the August meeting if you'd like, if that works within your schedule.
And how long will it take you to find out something from somebody who's familiar with solar powered technology? How soon can you get some information on that?
It's a good question. I'd like to say I could have some preliminary information at the same time so that we can kind of co-opt some of that information. And if I'm unable to, I will communicate ahead of time to make sure that the expectation is set that we will only talk about cybersecurity or we'll be able to talk about both.
Okay, but while we're upgrading, just think about that compatibility with the solar though. Stress that to your people.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything in process that anybody that I could reach out to that may have had discussions that I could learn more about what the district is exploring, or are we very early stage exploring?
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
No, that's okay. It was poorly worded. Is there anybody that the district has been in contact with about solar energy that I could reach out to, or is this very early stage?
This is very early stage.
Okay, so we're the someone right now.
The district is reaching out to Mr. Kevlin Jones.
Well, then we'll start with Mr. Kevlin Jones and we'll go from there.
Point of order. Thank you so much. And if that will be it for Ms. Martin and Mr. Jolly, we thank you for coming before us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin and Miss Martin and Mr. Jolly for joining us this evening. And next, I will now turn the floor over to Vice President Perry for the Human Resources Committee of the Whole.
I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Ms. Rubin to present action items to the board. Good evening.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion?
Go ahead, Ms.
What?
I was finna get the chair.
Oh, go ahead, do
I know
you.
you go ahead.
Do you. I think Ms. McIntyre was first and then Ms. McNeil.
Ms. Georgina, could you provide the board the, a job analysis study that was done by the previous HR person? So we can look at their job analysis study along with an updated org chart in regards to some of these personnel changes, so everybody can be on the same page and understand where we're going. Job analysis, you know, they did a job analysis study, I think, Ms. Yeah, and then also with your organization chart, because I noticed that a lot of your changes are job changes and stuff like that. I think that would be easier and helpful for the whole board, so they can see where we're moving, how we're moving, and where we're creating these jobs, because it was just one job that I did not see on that org chart. That was I was questioned about. So that would be helpful to have that information before 7/21.
Miss,
I had one, Georgina, as I was looking at the packet, and specifically as it relates to the new assignment for the current principal of Brownell. Again, I have nothing against that. I just wonder if we had a plan in place for potentially who would be maybe stepping in as an interim or filling that position as principal as we're moving closer to the start date of a school year, August 4th. It was just, again, something I was just, again, concerned about, given, again, how close we are to going back to school and whether or not there's a potential plan for interim stepping in with that transition.
Yes, sir, it is. A plan is in place.
Okay.
And I would defer to Assistant Superintendent Kevlin because that falls directly under his camp.
So as we have been interviewing for principals, we haven't specifically interviewed for a specific building, right? When you're interviewing for really good candidates to be an elementary principal. We've come across in our interviews several different candidates that we feel is capable. And so what we have to do is we do have to repost again, but we do have some candidates that we've already interviewed that's going to be receiving these same questions, right? So in the interim, if this person is chosen, that's actually the principal now, to go into this next position, if you guys vote that in, she in her job, she is to work with the person that's chosen. So this can happen. This can happen before school starts. We do have time to get this done. It's all dependent on the board's decision next week. Yeah.
And I didn't finish my other part. When I had spoken to you, that when I was looking at your org chart, what is a continuing improvement director? Who creates that position? I think it's on page 36.
That position was created by the Office of Academics and the superintendent in conjunction with the superintendent. It is replacing a former school accountability person. The job description is in the packet?
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
Okay.
But it just was not on your organization chart. When I look at that chart that I was looking at, that position wasn't there. So I didn't know whether you were just creating a new position or you're renaming a position.
It's an expansion and of the school accountability. That is probably what is on the org chart. And I don't have my org chart with me in front of me.
Right.
But I will find out for you and find out where that is and what two positions were merged together to create this new one.
That would help. Okay.
And I got to backtrack on something that you said. You said you wanted me to have this by next board meeting?
No, I was just thinking maybe we can get that to all the boards before the next board meeting.
Okay, I got to backtrack and I apologize. I said absolutely.
It won't do us any good if you bring it on the day, but I just want to make sure that everybody got the same information. I did some research and digging and finally got what they call the Moen Exer, some information And she said, oh, yeah, we do have that.
Okay.
And so I got it, but I didn't distribute it because I want to get some information from you.
I
So make
appreciate
sure
that.
We
I
all
need
have
to
the same-
backtrack though, because I'm going on vacation tonight. Tomorrow's
okay.
my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. And I'm going on vacation and I won't be back in time to get it to you for next board meeting.
No, we can ask,
but I will get it.
Mo to get it, and make sure, no updates on anything and everybody will have it.
Okay,
If
so
that's okay.
I will work on those and get those as fast as possible. Okay.
To do that responsibility, is that part of your responsibilities?
Oh, as part of the org chart?
Yeah, of getting copies of the work chart, is that your responsibility?
They'll, typically, the HR department will provide to the board and
Yeah, I'm just concerned, I'm just concerned about a lot of work being dumped on Ms. Elston, that's not in her job description, the departments,
Yeah, I got it.
that are,
Here, I did research.
each department needs to do their own work, and I would really appreciate if there's more consideration, not just, oh, Mo will do it, Mo will do
Yeah,
it.
she's
Mo
not
will
gonna
do it.
create it, board member. not
She's just
decide,
emailing
but
it
She
to
has
you.
to give it to you. We have to give it to her to give to you.
I understand that, but it's the HR department's responsibility, correct? Not
No.
To get it to her.
Okay, okay. And in terms of this continuous improvement director, so it's a transition job, but it's actually, so it's a new job title. Have we had a continuous improvement director before?
No,
So it's a new job.
yes,
And did we agree to create a new administrative position in a time when we're talking about a budget deficit elimination and looking at budget cutbacks? We're talking about closing all these schools, but we're creating a new administrative position that's.
Which one you talking? What's she talking?
I'll explain it. I'll explain it. Explain it for me. So,
That's what
there was a position that, one of our previous executive staff members had, and she's no longer with us. But in order for us to get some of this work done in the manner we are trying to do so, and not being on the general fund books, you have to create it in such a way that works with the funding grant. And so you may be seeing a new title, but some of the data work, a lot of the data work, actually all of the data work that needs to be done in the district, amongst other things that you can see in that job title, has to be done, and we have to put it under a title. And before, some of the funding was being paid out of our general fund with that executive staff member. I didn't hear you.
How is it being paid now? What fund is it being paid out of?
So it will be title funded out of our Title I.
So how long is this position for?
It's going to be ongoing.
So we're creating a new position out of Title I funding. Okay. I know that we also asked about looking into some kind of an analysis of eliminating or reducing or cutting the student affairs department, the student.
We on a, I don't know, order information. Right now, we're trying to just do this personnel
I
part that we
understand,
have on the
but this
agenda.
is like, we're talking about, right now we have 5 administrative positions that are being hired for right now, changes that where you're having teachers and principals move to the administration building with increases in salary. And this one particular job, it just concerns me because I don't see where it's coming from. It doesn't make sense. And I understand your explanation for that. It's also, who is this person going to be responsible? We don't have an organizational flow. Who is this person going to be responsible to? What's the chain of command?
This person will fall up under Office of Academics, which is myself.
Okay.
They will be over testing, all NWEA DIBELS testing. They'll be over InStep testing. They will be over the data, our partnership agreement that we have with the state that we must continue. They'll be over that. The superintendent currently has been doing that work, but that work was under the previous executive team member that is no longer with the district, who left, I think, prior to you coming on. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so this person will report to the Office of Academics, myself.
And so is there a reason why it's exempt?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Is there a reason why it's exempt? It's an exempt.
Why is it exempt?
Well, I don't.
It's exempt. That just means that it is not in the administrators union.
Is there a reason why?
I think it was more about having that person ongoing throughout the year than stopping at a certain point of the year. We need them, like in this month, they need to be working with me to ensure that our data and our partnerships and things are ongoing. So this person will also be working with Miss, I don't want to call names, the Department of Student Services as it pertains to synergy, making sure the data is right. And so all of this work happens during the summer. And so our Congress, they are off in certain parts of the summer. We need this person to be an administrator that's working year round with us.
I'm just really wary of, so the administrators that work over the summer are not part of the administrators union?
Is that correct, Ms.?
That is correct. The majority of members, we only have 2 members in Congress, three members of Congress that are in central office.
3 members of Congress. And so do they work over the summer?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how is that possible to have them as part of the union and working over the summer if we can't make this a union position?
Their positions were traditionally union and governed by the collective bargaining agreement. So they were, if I could use the word, grandfathered into the collective bargaining agreement. Most of the Congress members are school-based.
So we decided to make this position a non-Congress, like myself, and like some others in.
Non-Congress means non-union.
Yes.
Exempt from Congress.
Non-union,
Yes.
basically. Yeah. So we decided, can we not decide not to do that? I mean, is there some way to include it in the union? I mean, I don't understand. This is Flint, Michigan, the home of the sit-down. This is a union.
So you're saying you want this position to be in the Congress?
I'm just wondering why it just, we just made the decision, or again, we have as a board.
Well, it's about necessity of needing help. I mean, we need help. There's heavy lifts, and there's going to be times where we need folks. And if we have to go through to be frank and honest, if we have to go through certain details to get things done, it'll take way longer sometimes. We're dealing with a lot of that now. I respect all our unions. I don't want to make it like we don't, but if I can have some positions where folks are working with me hand in hand to get things done, and I don't have to go through a lot of hoops to get things done for children, I'm going to do my very best to do that.
And it is Title I, right? This
Absolutely.
Come out of Title I fund, and they do have the administration certification?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Just, it's good that that's on the record, where we're stating about unions. So with we have 5 new administrative positions that are teachers and principals moving to the administration building.
Yeah.
Administrators?
Are you speaking of the principal position and the district instructional specialist?
What is the district instructional specialist, and why do we need 5 of them?
That's a teacher on special assignment that is not an administrator. And Mr. Jones spoke on the district instructional specialist earlier.
Right.
Working with the building teachers. They may come to the administration building as a checkpoint, but they are sent out to work directly with the teachers in the buildings.
So if we have less than 3,000 students at this point, why do we need so many district instructional specialists? Is it because they're school-based?
So the district instructional specialist works with teachers. They work in the building with the teachers and also the administrators to support the instruction that's going on in the classroom. It's not more about the quantity of scholars as it is the quantity of teachers and those district instructional specialists going into the building. So it's 2 buildings per district instructional specialist. They can't take on, you can't have one, they'll be taking on all the teachers in the district, right? So we split it up by 2 schools per district instructional specialist. We've actually had 3 working, and this year, because there were several there was one that retired and one that moved on. And so the work has been hard. Those teachers, we commend. It's been very difficult, a very difficult lift for them to work with all of those teachers being one person. So we do need to make sure that we have 1 district instructional specialist per 2 buildings.
Okay. And then just one more procedural question about the hiring, the HR process. I'm assuming we're following best practices and ensuring that there's no conflict of interest. Who are the people who are actually doing the hiring committees, and is it rotated or?
Yes, ma'am. So like right now, let's just take one of the elementary principal. We brought on 2 principals and a teacher to assist. We use who's available to us and who is open to interviewing. And so we had a teacher from the school that we was interviewing for, and the principal that was moving out of the position, and another principal. So, and then myself was involved in those interviews. And so those folks had to sign a conflict of interest form to ensure that there was no conflict of interest there. And we all discuss and we talk about the candidate, and they write their own information down.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing
And
none, the motion.
I want to ask you this. This is just to move it to next week, right? I'm just making sure. Okay. I'm just making sure that's what we know.
No, I'm saying this is a Cow meeting.
Thank you.
Seeing none, the motion to move action item 1.1 to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Green is out the room. Ms. McIntyre? Okay. Motion passes 4 to 1 no. Please continue, Ms. Rubin.
Thank you, Board. I seek a motion and a second to move action item 1.2, ratification of the successor collective bargaining agreement between the school district, City of Flint, and SEIU Local 517M, our paraprofessional unit, to the regular board meeting, July 21, for adoption.
It has been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion to move action item 1.2 to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Board.
Please continue.
I seek a motion to move action item 1.3, resolution to accept letters of agreement and issue payment to the regular board meeting on July 21 for adoption.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I don't think I made it this far back. My bad.
Did you? What did she say?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, okay. Seeing none, the motion to move action item 1.3 to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. McNeil?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre?
Yes.
Motion passes. Yeah, thank you. 6-0. My head wasn't doing it. Seeing no further action, I declare the Human Resources Committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer McIntyre for the Finance Committee of the whole portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Mrs. Dumpre to present action items to the board.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
I seek a motion and second to move action item 11.1, fiscal year 22 Middle Cities Risk Management Services to the regular board meeting on July 21st, 2021 for adoption.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What is this? Is this for insurance purposes?
Yes, it is. This is for our property, general liability, auto, errors and omissions, employment practices, cyber, and pollution coverage for the district.
It's kind of like a renewal.
Yes, ma'am. We have been with them since the inception of the Middle Cities Risk Management Trust in 1987.
Okay, and all of these are the areas that they always cover us under, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does the auto insurance cover any out-of-district employees or third-party vendors?
No, the third-party vendors have to carry their own insurance.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion to move action item 11.1 to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Diana Wright is absent. Adrian Walker,
Yes.
Joyce McNeil,
Yes.
Carol McIntosh.
Yes.
Vera Perry,
Yes.
Danielle Green,
Yes.
myself, Laura McIntyre, yes. The motion passes by a vote of 6 to, what is it, 0? Yeah. Thank you. Please continue, Mrs. Dumpre.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 11.2, authorization to execute professional service agreement to the regular board meeting on July 21st, 2021 for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I like. Is that the one on page 132?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would like to make a comment with this 11.2. I think we need to bring the people to the board and let them explain to us what they're doing and what they're going on, what's going on. And this is a contract. Keep in mind that I think this contract is what we discussed in our financial meeting regarding Northern School and the fiber. If I would like to have them, I don't know if I'm making a motion, to come before the board and have more discussion on this contract, since it's the first time that we have saw the contract.
Yes,
That's on page 132.
yes, you would have to make a motion.
I would like to
because-
make a motion.
Second, because it's requiring action. That's proper, right, Ms. Perry? Okay, yes. She made the motion and I seconded, I do believe. Okay.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion to move the, yes.
Are you seeking to have the company come next week? And we hold a cow before our regular meeting to present and ask any questions?
Yes.
You're asking for a special board meeting?
Well, it would be, yeah, it would be like on the board committee of the whole prior to the regular meeting. Yes,
Is that appropriate?
yes.
Okay.
And you have that before.
Okay, I'm just making sure we,
I just wanted clarity about what.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been properly moved and seconded. I'll take a roll call vote. Diana Wright is absent. Adrian Walker,
Yes.
Joyce McNeil,
Yes.
Carol McIntosh.
yes. Oh,
Vera Perry.
she said yes.
She said yes. Danielle Green. Myself, Laura McIntyre, yes. That passes with a vote of 6-0. Okay, so going back to action item 11.2, authorization is to execute professional services agreement. I would like to make a motion that we don't vote on this. I mean, or do I need to even do that? Table it? Yeah. I mean, just that we table this until after we have further information in the presentation.
Support. if that's the-
You don't have to
Oh, no,
make a
okay.
motion to table. Just say- say you can
Okay.
table.
Okay, so do we vote on moving it forward then? We don't have to vote. Okay,
We'll set it to the next week. At the council.
okay. So in terms of the action item, we don't have to vote on it. Okay, okay, please continue, Mrs. Dumpre.
I seek a motion and a second to move action item 11.3, authorization to extend fiscal year 22 audit services contract to the regular board meeting on July 21st, 2021 for adoption.
So move.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, because I remember when we were talking about the audited services, I asked would there be any overages? And Ms. Dumpre replied to me that you didn't know anything about any overages. Is this have anything to do with our, because this might be two different things, with our Plan Moran analysis that they're doing on our building?
No, this is completely separate. This is to do the audit for the fiscal year 2021 school year. So the services that you're referring to are from Platte Moran Cressa.
Okay,
And
yes.
so it's completely separate.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Is there any
What services professional, financial audits?
Correct.
Okay.
for the year? Yeah,
Okay, I
this
got
is what we are required to by the state by a certain deadline. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion to move action item 11.3 to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Diana Wright is absent. Adrian Walker,
Yes.
Joyce McNeil,
Yes.
Carol McIntosh,
Yes.
Vera Perry,
Yes.
Danielle Green,
Yes.
myself, Laura McIntyre, yes, it passes with a vote of 6-0. Seeing no further action, I do
I
have
thought
to
we
take,
had a vote before, but I wasn't sure.
You can table it, but I still have to have consensus from the board.
okay, so I seek
So you already did the motion, it has been properly seconded.
Okay.
I need a vote to table to next.
It has been properly moved and seconded to table authorization to execute professional services, action item 11.2. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion to move action item, or to table action item 11.2 to the regular meeting for adoption. Or to table the meeting, sorry, it's been a long night. I'm hungry. Will be conducted by a roll call vote. Diana Wright is absent. Adrian Walker?
Yes.
Joyce McNeil?
Yes.
Carol McIntosh?
Yes.
Vera Perry?
Yes.
Danielle Green? Yes. Myself, Laura McIntyre, yes. It passes vote of 6-0. Seeing no further action, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Secretary Green for the Academics Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda. Time of adjournment is 9:11.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to call the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Mr. Jones to present action items to the board.
All right. I seek a motion and second to move action item 25.1, authorization to renew student licenses with Amplify Education Incorporated for M-Class Dibbles Next for 2021-2022 to the regular board meeting on July 21st, 2021 for adoption.
So move.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to move action item 25.1 to the regular board meeting for adoption. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, please reply yes or no to approve. Laura McIntyre? Diana Wright, who's absent. Adrian Walker?
Yes.
Joyce McNeil?
Yes.
Carol McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Perry, who's not here, myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion passes 5-0. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
All right. I seek a motion and a second to move action item 25.2, appoint Flint Schools Parent Representative to the GISD Special Education Parent Advisory Council to the regular board meeting on July 21st, 2021 for adoption.
So move.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
We have one parent representative.
So legally, every district is supposed to.
We need you to be on the
Okay.
mic. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
This is Melinda Carroll. She's over our LSS department. Thank you.
So legally, under IDEA, every district is supposed to provide one parent to the GISD County Parent Advisory Committee. We've been looking for 7 years. This is the first time someone has been willing to participate in that capacity. So, yep, we're kind of excited about that.
Thank you.
Do we know who that parent is? Have we, as a board, met the parent? Or do we know who the parent is? We know?
You probably don't know, her, but she comes here quite often on there. I speak to her a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been a very active parent.
Okay, well, I don't have, okay, that's good. Glad to hear that.
So does that mean we don't get to know her name though, if she's
Is
represented?
that something?
Oh, Betty Nordstrom. Yeah,
What's her name?
Betty Nordstrom. She spoke at a previous.
Nostrand.
Nordstrom.
Not like shopping, it's
Right.
Nostrand.
Betty Nordstrom. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did you say Nordstrom?
Yes, I did. Excuse me.
We're tired. We're tired.
Thought the same
Leave me
thing.
alone. Is there any more discussion? No. Seeing none, the motion is moved action item 25.2 to the regular board meeting for adoption. I will conduct a roll call vote. As I call your name, reply yes or no to approve. Laura McIntyre?
Yes.
Diana Wright, who's absent. Adrian Walker?
Yes.
Joyce McNeil?
Yes.
Carol McIntosh?
Yes.
Vera Perry, who's absent. And myself, Danielle Green, yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, continue.
Yes, ma'am. In your packet is information report 26.1, comparative membership report, June 17th, 2021, pages 159 to 161. Do any of our board members have any questions?
I do, yeah. So I was looking at, I guess it will be called 159. It doesn't have a page number on it. But in terms of looking at the changes, it looks like there was an increase. And in looking at the dates, I'm wondering, do we segment that increase out to say when we return face to face a little bit? Do we capture a little bit more, or what do we?
That's just 2020, 2021.
Okay.
It's just 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Any more questions? Any more discussion?
Yes, is this with the 90-10 formula? Is this with
I'm
the
sorry.
new formula? How is this the comparative membership?
We can't hear you, Laura. You gotta speak up.
It's late. I withdraw. Late, I withdraw.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Seeing no further action, I declare the committee of the whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over back to President McIntosh.
Is there any remarks from individual board members before we adjourn?
I do have
Mr. Walker?
I do have one, and Mr. Jones, we spoke about this, and I'm hearing it a little bit more, but the number one question that I'm currently getting is in regards to the start date for school and how that's communicated to parents. Like, I've had a lot of people reach out in regards to that, and just, again, I even checked our Facebook page, and it's not there, but want to make sure that, again, parents don't miss that date.
So we wanted to make sure that we gave our board members a copy of the calendar. And you were able to see the calendar before we gave it to our general public. It's been in draft, waiting till we got to this board meeting just so we can give it to you first. So it's been in draft to our principals and teachers. And so now we can move it out of draft and get it on the website and get it to the public.
Is there any other board members that would like to make any comments?
Sticking it out this long and staying here, and for Bartek for going all the way and sticking it out to the fellow board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, Ms. Downfray, and Georgina.
Absolutely.
Okay. The public is reminded that all board meetings, including our subcommittee meetings, will be held in person. We will continue to live stream our committee of a whole and regular board meetings for the public. Please continue to check the district's website at www.flintschools.org to see the location and times of subcommittee meetings. Our next regular board meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. here at our Accelerated Learning Academy. I'd also like to, let me see. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kevlin has some.
Just real quick, I would just like to make sure that we affirm the team in our superintendent's absence. Ms. Georgina and Ms. Downpray has been working with myself and the cabinet and making sure things move forward. We also like to give our condolences again to our superintendent and all those that participated in supporting her, and to you, board, as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I didn't know if we were going to do a moment of silence or how we do for Mr. Miller, which is Anita's father.
We could.
I've known Mr. Miller since I was in the 9th grade. Great guy. It's a big loss, not just for the family, but people, anybody who knew Mr. Miller is a loss. So my condolences to the whole family. And I would like to do a moment of silence.
Okay, so how long do you want to do for?
How long do you usually do it?
10 seconds. Okay, can you keep the time for us? Yeah. I mean, well, no, we're not praying. We're having a moment of silence, right?
Yeah.
So we just want to, okay. So we ain't gonna know. And I also like to say that I made an attempt to have Mo send flowers to the Miller family on behalf of their loss, because we are sympathetic. We didn't realize that we didn't have the ability to do that, or we would have moved a little more expediently to organize amongst ourselves.
Right.
So I didn't want that to be known, because we are not that insensitive as a board.
Right.
So I just want to say that. And I also want to say to the community, start watching our website. We will be listing our vacant properties for sale. So be on the watch for that, because it's no do-overs. We're going to get this done. We are talking to our legal team that's working on that, Mr. Kevlin and myself. And so this will be This train will be moving soon. So if you're interested or know anybody that's interested, let them know to be checking our websites because this is gonna happen. And point that,
On the side, the side.
moment of silence.
And
yes.
so now we give a moment of silence to Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further action, I declare the board committee meeting of a whole to be adjourned. The time is 9:20.